Today I'm making my very first bread. I'm so nervous about doing it, but the brand Slog sent me their cast iron Dutch oven and I cannot wait to try it. I'm trying to get into using more cast iron, more stainless steel, so I was excited to get this product, but I am not an expert in how to use cast iron. So that's part of the learning process. So my favorite thing about this one is I feel like this is a great kit for beginners because it comes with all the accessories. You have the bread proofing basket with the little linen cover on it. My bread's in here right now. Then you have the bread sling, which is in the oven with the cast iron Dutch oven right now heating up. You have the scoring lane. So it has these little razor blades. You get, I think, 5 with it. They come in these little envelopes. And then you have this leather cover to go over to protect you from cutting yourself when you're not using it. Then you have your dough whisk. So this is what you mix the dough with. You have your metal scraper, and it has little measurements on it if you need that. You have a plastic scraper. You have the cleaning brush. So I use this to brush out my bread proofing basket. It looks like it's made of bamboo, so you don't want to use water with that because you could eventually create mold. So I just brushed out any debris, which I really didn't see any, but I just used it anyway just to try to make sure it was clean before I floured it and put my bread in it. You have the flour duster. So you just mash it, scoop up your flour, and then you can dust this over the top. And then you also have your little bread stencils. I think there's like a rose, Thanksgiving themed, a Christmas themed, and what other in there? This mat I bought separately. It's not a must, but I just didn't want to put my bread directly onto my countertop or my glass stove, so I preferred to have a mat to do that. This also comes with a recipe instruction book, but I would say it's not completely clear. I did have to ask ChatGPT to help me figure out some things. Like, first of all, it says it's pre-seasoned, but I wanted to make sure I seasoned it, so it doesn't give you clear instructions on exactly how to do that. All it says is to hand wash it, dry it on the stove over medium heat, season it with natural oil. But it doesn't tell you the steps to actually do that if you're a beginner like me and know nothing about that. So I did have to ask for some help with that. Another thing is it is bare cast iron, so it is very rough right now. I've read that over time it will smooth itself out, but right now it's very rough. So the first thing I did after I washed it was I went to towel dry it, and all kinds of lint got over it. So then I went to wash it again. I used a paper towel. Then it was just ripping the paper towel. So you want to be very careful with that. Try to get like a lint-free cloth or something to dry it with. And then I put mine in the oven to make sure all the moisture was out before I seasoned it with, all I had was vegetable oil. I just rubbed vegetable oil all over it, tops, bottom, sides, everything, with a thin layer, and then went back with a paper towel and tried to wipe it all up. You don't want no extra. Then I put it back in the oven and heated it again just to try to bake in that seasoning, however you word that. Again, I'm not a bread maker and I don't know the right lingo. The recipe in here, very simple ingredients, but I would say I still needed ChatGPT to help me a little bit along. It's just not clear instructions. I feel like it's leaving out a bunch of steps. A lot of bread making recipes I've seen, they make the dough and then they knead it and then they put it in the basket. I was going by this, and it basically said mix it in a bowl, put it in your proofing basket, and I did that. And then I'm like, I went back and watched videos, and what about the kneading part? When do I do that? And it doesn't even mention that after. So like if I'm supposed to knead it after having it in the proofing basket. So I'm kind of concerned about how my bread's going to turn out because I feel like maybe I missed a step. But I think I'm going to try to not necessarily knead it too much after the fact, just because it doesn't mention to do that. But I am going to take it out and put it on here and like roll it into a loaf form before putting it in my cast iron. Okay, so per the instructions, I have made my bread following the recipe. I did everything it said as far as mixing it up, putting it in the basket, covering it up, let it sit for probably about, I don't know, 12, 13 hours now. And now it says to put your Dutch oven into the oven for 450 for about 30 minutes to heat up really good. Also have the sling in the Dutch oven. So that's in there heating up right now. Once the dough has risen and bubbles have formed, carefully turn the dough out on a proofing basket onto baking paper. Use a scoring lane to cut the dough. So I'm going to put a little bit of flour right here, and I'm going to dump it out. I'm going to form it the way I want it. And then it says to put it on the sling and then take the sling and put it into the cast iron Dutch oven. Last night, I didn't know what I was doing. The dough I was working with was not holding shape, so I'm curious to see if it will hold its shape now. So here's my bread. We're going to take this off. It has definitely risen because it was down in there. Dump it out, and it's not coming on its own, which makes me think I have done something wrong. Yep, I did something wrong. But again, I was following the instructions, so I thought the instructions wasn't that great. It smells like bread, so that's a plus. But yeah, this did not do right at all. And I did flour this, and as you can see, it's still all stuck in there. All right, so let's try to salvage this. I do not think that this is a product problem. If I had to blame anything, it's me not necessarily knowing what I'm doing and the recipe and instruction manual not being that clear. So I'm just going to try to make this into a loaf form. I mean, it's very soft and want to fall apart and not stick together. So I'm going to make it into a loaf form. I'm going to put it in the Dutch oven, and we're going to go from there, and hopefully it works out for us. This is extremely hot, so you want to be very careful when using this. All right, so here's what it looks like with the bread sling in it. But it says to take that out, and it just comes right out. And then I'm going to lay it right here. I'm going to put my bread in my funky loaf form I have tried to make. It does not look like I expected it to look, or it's not acting like it's supposed to act. All right, so I'm just going to lay this right here. And then I'm going to put my gloves back on. And I'm going to pick the sling up and carefully place this back in the Dutch oven. And I'm going to score it. And I'm just going to do a simple right down the middle. Maybe a couple slashes on the side just to see how it works. I've never done this before. I don't know what it's supposed to look like. So again, after watching videos, this is just not doing like what I have seen on the videos. So I have definitely done something wrong. It's just too tacky. Okay, it's scored. You can't hardly tell. It just wants to form back into its shape, but we'll go with that. And we're going to put it back in the oven. According to the instructions, we're going to bake that for 30 minutes. Then we're going to take it all out, remove the lid, and bake it for another 15 to 20 minutes until it's golden brown. I do not have high hopes for my first loaf of bread. Like I said, I do not think this is a product problem. I think this is a beginner problem, and I also think that this is the instructions just not being too clear. So my suggestion for anybody buying this, definitely buy it because it's a great product. It comes with all the accessories you would need, and maybe look up a different recipe. Watch some videos to know exactly what you're doing. Not losing hope yet, but I don't think it's going to turn out quite like I want it to. So I'll show you my finished product, and if it looks edible, I might taste it. It's been in there for 30 minutes, so we're going to take the lid off. And I don't know if that's what it's supposed to look like or not, but you can kind of see it. This pan is very heavy, just in case you didn't know that cast iron is so heavy. All right, so now I'm going to put it back in there just like this with the lid off. So these are obviously cool to the touch now, so I'm just going to lift it out. Oh, stayed on there. But you can see it's pretty much clean inside. So now I think I'm supposed to re-season this by putting some oil in it, wiping it, putting it in the oven, letting it kind of dry out, and do that process all over again. That's part of the process of keeping your cast iron in good condition. It says to let it cool completely before cutting it. I'm going to slide it off of this though, so the air can get up underneath it. But I would say it don't look quite so bad for my first loaf. So I'm impatient and I have to go somewhere, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this bread. I have felt it and it's pretty hard, so I'm worried I might have either cooked it too long or again I just messed up somewhere in the process. So I'm going to get my bread knife and let's see. Very crusty. I think it's just super dense. I didn't need it enough. I didn't need it at all because it didn't say that in the instructions actually. So let's see. Definitely not the best tasting bread, but could be edible if you just had to eat something. Definitely very thick and dense, and this is definitely crusty. I do like that, but maybe too much. So I have to try again.